37 bikers surrounded the house at 2 a.m. Inside, a 5-year-old was trapped with the most dangerous man the club had ever known, a man who had killed before. 4 hours earlier, his 9-year-old brother had run barefoot through the dark to find help. He found an army. The boy appeared out of nowhere. The parking lot of the Iron Horse Bar was filled with the usual sounds: engines cooling, men laughing, bottles clinking. Then a child was standing at the edge of the light, barefoot, shaking, blood dripping from his feet. Hank Diesel Morrison saw him first. "Hey kid, you okay?" The boy stepped forward, maybe 9 years old. Skinny, wearing pajamas, eyes wild. "I need help. My little brother. He's still inside with him." Conversations died. The bikers turned to look. Inside where? With who? The boy swallowed hard. Carl Whitmore. The name hit like a bomb. Silence. Complete silence. Hank's blood turned to ice. Someone dropped a bottle. Someone whispered something like a prayer. Carl Whitmore, the man who had beaten his wife for 6 years, the man who finally killed her in front of their children, the man who vanished before police could arrest him, leaving behind a crime scene so brutal that veteran officers had nightmares. That was 3 years ago. Everyone had searched for him. He disappeared like smoke. Now a 9-year-old was saying that name. "Carl Whitmore," Hank repeated. "You're sure?" "That's what Mom calls him. That's the name on his mail." The boy's voice broke. "He hurt my mom tonight. Bad. She's in the hospital. The ambulance took her, but they didn't take Tyler because Carl said he'd watch him." "Who's Tyler?" "My little brother. He's 5. Tears streamed down the boy's face. "Carl said he's leaving in the morning, taking Tyler with him. Said if I tell anyone, I'll never see my brother again. But you're telling us. Because I saw what he did to Mom. I saw what he does when he gets mad." The boy wiped his nose. "He's going to hurt Tyler, I know it. The police never help, but you? Everyone says you're dangerous. Everyone says you hurt bad people." He looked up at Hank with eyes that had seen too much. "Please be dangerous for my brother." The club mobilized in 15 minutes. Hank made 3 calls. First to Marcus Priest Delgado, the chapter president. Second to a contact inside the police department. Third to every brother within riding distance. While waiting, Hank examined the boy's feet. Torn up, cuts, scrapes, glass embedded in his heel. "What's your name, kid?" Danny Mercer." "I'm going to pull this glass out. It's going to hurt." Danny didn't flinch. This boy had learned to be quiet when things hurt. "How long has Carl been with your mom?" "About a year. He was nice at first. They're always nice at first." Danny's voice was flat. "Then he started drinking, then hitting." "Did he hit you?" "Sometimes, mostly Mom. Tonight was the worst. She tried to take us and leave, and he couldn't finish." Hank wrapped Danny's feet. Behind him, engines roared as brothers arrived. "How did you know to come here?" "I didn't. I just ran. I knew police wouldn't help, so I ran until I saw motorcycles." Danny looked at the growing crowd. "Are you going to help my brother?" "Yeah, kid. We're going to help." "Are you going to hurt Carl?" Hank paused. "We're going to make sure he never hurts anyone again." "Good." Danny's voice was cold, colder than any 9-year-old's should be. "He deserves it." Priest arrived at 11:47 p.m. 6'4", 260, face like granite. President for 12 years. He had seen things that would break most men. When Hank told him about Carl Whitmore, something flickered in his eyes. "You're sure it's him?" The kid described him. "The name matches, the pattern matches, it's him." Priest was silent. Then, "I made a promise 3 years ago, standing in that house looking at what he did to Michelle Whitmore. I promised if we ever found him, he would answer. I remember. Her daughter Sarah wrote me a letter, asked why no one saved her mom, asked if anyone was going to find him." Priest's hands clenched. "Now we've found him, and there's another little boy in that house." "What's the play?" "We go in, get the child, hold Carl until police arrive." He paused. "What happens between now and when they arrive depends on Carl." The drive took 31 minutes. Danny rode with Hank in the support truck, directing them. "The living room is in front. That's where he drinks. Tyler's room is in the back, left side." "Does Carl lock the doors?" "Front door, yeah, back door is broken." "Doesn't lock right." "Broken back door, entry point." "Weapons?" Danny nodded slowly. "Shotgun in his bedroom closet. And a knife, big one, black handle. A shotgun and a knife." Carl was prepared to fight. So were they. If this satisfies your heart, please like and follow for more. The convoy arrived at 12:34 a.m. They killed engines 2 blocks away, rolling silently through the dark. 37 men moving like shadows toward a house at the end of a cul-de-sac. Small house, single story, vinyl siding, patchy lawn. One light on. The living room. Hank raised binoculars. A figure on the couch, big, motionless, bottle in hand. Carl Whitmore. He's still up, Hank whispered. Living room. The boy. Can't see him, probably in his room. Get him out before we engage. I don't want him in the crossfire. Hank nodded. I'll go around back. Do it. The back door opened with one push. Old, warped, barely functional. Kitchen was dark. Dishes piled. Smell of old beer. Hank moved through the hallway, silent despite his size. Tyler's room, second door on the left. He opened it slowly. Small room. Single bed. Superhero sheets. Toys scattered. Rocket ship nightlight. In the bed, a little boy, curled into a ball, awake, wide eyes watching the door. When he saw Hank, massive, bearded, leather-clad, he didn't scream, just stared. He had learned that making noise brought pain. That look on a 5-year-old's face broke something in Hank. Hey, buddy. I'm Hank. Your brother Danny sent me. I'm here to take you somewhere safe. Tyler didn't move. Danny's outside. He's okay. He ran really far to find help. Danny's okay. Tiny voice. Barely audible. Danny's okay, but I need you to come with me real quiet. Can you do that? Tyler looked toward the living room, toward Carl. He said if I got out of bed, he'd hurt me. He's not going to hurt you. Not ever again. I promise. Tyler pushed back the covers. Footy pajamas with dinosaurs, 3 feet tall. He took Hank's hand. The smallest hand Hank had ever held. Somehow the heaviest thing he'd ever carried. They reached the back door before everything went wrong. Tyler! Carl's voice, loud, slurred, angry, exploded from the living room. Tyler! Where are you? Heavy footsteps coming closer. Hank pushed Tyler toward the brother at the door. Go! Get him to the truck. Now. Tyler was whisked into darkness. Hank turned to face the hallway. Carl Whitmore appeared. 6'2", 220, hard labor build. Face flushed with alcohol. Eyes wild. Shotgun in his hand. Who are you? What are you doing in my house? We're here for the boy. He's gone. It's over. Carl raised the shotgun. You think you can walk in and take what's mine? He's not yours. He's not property. He's a child. He's my family. Mine. Finger toward the trigger. I don't let anyone take what's mine. Hank didn't flinch. Carl Whitmore. I know who you are. I know what you did. We've been looking for you for 3 years. Fear flickered in Carl's eyes. I don't know what you're talking about. Michelle Whitmore, your wife, you beat her to death in front of your children. Hank's voice was ice. Did you think we forgot? The shotgun trembled. That was an accident. She fell. You killed her. Then you ran. Then you found another family to destroy. Hank stepped forward. This is where it ends. The standoff lasted 11 minutes. Carl pointing a shotgun at the hallway, screaming threats. Hank standing his ground, speaking calmly. Outside, brothers surrounded the house. Priest waited at the front door. Danny was in the truck with Tyler. You don't want to do this, Carl. You pull that trigger, you're done. Not arrested. Done. 37 men outside who know what you did to Michelle. I'll kill you all. What, with a shotgun? 2 shots before we're on you. Hank spread his hands. But you might get out alive. Put the gun down. Carl's face twisted. Alcohol made him sloppy. His finger kept twitching. You don't understand. She pushed me. Michelle pushed me. Always nagging. Michelle told the truth. Those 2 boys are going to tell the truth about you. Hank's voice hardened. It's over. The only question is how. Carl seemed to consider it. Then he swung the shotgun and pulled the trigger. The shot went wide. Alcohol, shaking hands, or luck, the blast tore through the wall 3 feet from Hank's head. Before Carl could pump for a second shot, Hank was on him. They crashed through the hallway into the living room. Shotgun clattered away. Carl swung wildly, connected with Hank's jaw. Hank had been hit harder. 1 punch to the solar plexus. Carl doubled over. 1 elbow to the temple. Carl crumpled. Brothers flooded through front and back doors. Carl was on the floor, Hank's knee on his chest. Call the police. Tell them we have a wanted murderer. Priest was already dialing. Police arrived at 1:23 a.m. 4 squad cars, 2 detectives, an ambulance for Carl. Detective Sarah Okonkwo took charge. 20-year veteran. She'd worked Michelle Whitmore's case. When she saw Carl, her face showed shock, recognition, relief. Carl Whitmore, I've been looking for you. I want a lawyer. You'll get one. She gestured to officers. Get him up. Keep him away from those bikers. As Carl was led past Priest, their eyes met. This isn't over. I'll sue every one of you. Priest said nothing, just watched. Danny and Tyler were reunited in the truck. The older brother held the younger so tight it looked permanent. Tyler was crying now. Soft, hiccuping sobs held in for hours. Danny stroked his hair and whispered things too quiet for anyone else. Hank watched from a distance. "You did good, kid. You saved your brother." Danny looked up, eyes red, but something new in them. Hope. "Is it really over? He's not coming back? Prison for a very long time, for Michelle, for your mum, for what he was going to do to Tyler." Hank crouched down. "He's never going to hurt your family again." "What about Mom?" "Hospital. She's going to be okay." "Can we see her?" Hank looked at Priest, nod. "Yeah, kid, right now." The ride to the hospital was quiet. Danny held Tyler the whole way. Both boys wrapped in the same blanket. They didn't speak. They were together. They were safe. For now, enough. Hank drove slowly, carefully. He was carrying something precious. The diner smelled like burnt coffee and decades of grease soaked into linoleum. Ray sat across from Emma in a booth with cracked vinyl seats, watching her attack a stack of pancakes like she hadn't eaten in days. She probably hadn't, not properly. The syrup bottle was nearly empty by the time she looked up, a smear of maple across her cheek. "You always eat like that?" Ray asked, stirring his black coffee. It tasted like dirt, but it was hot. Emma shrugged, mouth full. When she swallowed, she said, "Mommy says I eat too fast. Where is your mommy?" The fork stopped halfway to her mouth. Her eyes went somewhere else, somewhere Ray recognized. He'd seen that look in the mirror plenty of times, the look of someone deciding what truth to tell. "She's sleeping," Emma said finally. "She sleeps a lot now." Ray didn't push. He'd learned that lesson the hard way over 43 years of stepping in things he shouldn't. The waitress, Dolores, according to her name tag, refilled his cup without asking. She had the weathered face of someone who'd worked this shift since the Carter administration. "You passing through?" Dolores asked, eyeing the road dust on Ray's jacket. "Always am." She glanced at Emma, then back at Ray. Her expression didn't change, but something in her eyes sharpened. Small towns had their own surveillance system, better than any camera. "Bathroom's in the back if the little one needs it," Dolores said, moving to the next table. Emma was drawing in the condensation on her water glass. A stick figure on a motorcycle. No house, no trees. Just the figure and the bike. "You got people looking for you?" Ray asked, keeping his voice low. "I don't know. That's not an answer." Emma's fingers squeaked across the wet glass. "Uncle Terry might be, but he's not nice." Ray felt something cold settle in his gut. Uncle Terry. The way she said it, flat, empty, told him everything he needed to know about Uncle Terry. "He your mom's brother?" "Mommy's boyfriend, but he makes me call him Uncle." She wiped the glass clean with her palm, erasing the drawing. "He has a loud voice." The bell above the diner door chimed. Ray's hand instinctively moved toward his hip, old muscle memory from a time when he carried things he didn't carry anymore. Two men walked in, both wearing the kind of canvas work jackets you saw on every construction site from here to Bakersfield. They took seats at the counter, normal, just normal. Ray exhaled and picked up his coffee. "We need to figure out where you belong," he said. "Can't just keep riding." "Why not?" "Because that's not how it works." "Works for you." The kid had a point. Ray looked at her. Really looked. 6 years old, maybe 7. Old enough to be scared, but young enough to think a motorcycle could solve everything. He remembered being that age, believing his father's Dodge Charger could outrun anything. Turned out you couldn't outrun most things. They just followed you at a different speed. "It's different," Ray said. "How?" He didn't have an answer that wouldn't sound like a lie. Dolores came back with the check. She set it down on Ray's side of the table, then pulled a small plastic bag from her apron. Inside were 2 granola bars and an apple. "For the road," she said. "No charge." Ray met her eyes. There was no judgment there, just the quiet understanding of someone who'd seen enough of life's sharp edges to know when not to ask questions. "Thanks," he said. Outside, the sky had turned the color of old bruises. The wind had picked up, carrying the smell of rain from somewhere west. Ray's bike sat under a flickering streetlight, patient as ever. Emma climbed on without being told, wrapping her arms around his waist. "Where are we going?" she asked. "There's a sheriff's station about 30 miles up the road in Mercer." "No." The word came out fast and hard. Ray felt her grip tighten. "Emma, no police. Uncle Terry knows police. He says they're friends." Ray twisted around to look at her. Her face had gone pale, and her eyes were wide. Not the dramatic fear of a child making excuses. This was real terror, the kind that came from experience. "All right," Ray said quietly. "No police. Not yet." He started the engine. The Harley rumbled to life, and they pulled out of the parking lot just as the first raindrops hit the asphalt. Ray didn't have a plan. That was nothing new. He'd been riding without a plan for most of his adult life, but now there was a kid involved, and kids needed plans. They needed safe places and responsible adults, and all the things Ray had spent 20 years actively avoiding. The rain came harder. Emma pressed her face against his back, and he felt her small body shivering. He pulled off the highway at the next exit, spotting a motel sign glowing weakly through the downpour. The Pines Motor Lodge. $15 a night, according to the weather-beaten placard. The office was empty except for a kid behind the desk, maybe 19, nose buried in a Stephen King paperback. He glanced up when Ray walked in, water dripping from his jacket. "Need a room," Ray said. $30. Cash only." Ray pulled out his wallet. He had $43 left. He handed over 30 and took the key. Room 7. The room smelled like mildew and old cigarettes, but it was dry. Emma sat on the edge of one of the twin beds, hugging herself. Her clothes were soaked through. "There's towels in the bathroom," Ray said. "Get dried off." She didn't move. "Emma, is Uncle Terry going to find us?" Ray sat down on the other bed, suddenly feeling every one of his 43 years. His knees ached, his back hurt. He was too old for this. "Not tonight," he said, "but tomorrow." "Tomorrow's tomorrow, we'll figure it out." She got up and went to the bathroom. Ray heard the water running. He stared at the wall, at the faded painting of a lighthouse that had probably been hanging there since 1987. His phone sat in his pocket like a stone. He could call someone, but who? He'd burned most of his bridges years ago. There was Linda, his ex-wife. But she'd made it clear the last time they spoke that she was done cleaning up his messes. There was Martinez, his old riding buddy in Tucson. But Martinez had 4 kids of his own and a wife who already thought Ray was a bad influence. There was Frank, his sponsor. But Frank would tell him to do the right thing, which meant calling child services, which meant Emma back in the system, possibly back with Uncle Terry. The bathroom door opened. Emma stood there in a towel that was too big for her, her hair dripping. "I don't have other clothes," she said. Ray dug through his saddlebag and found an old T-shirt. It hung on her like a dress, but it was clean and dry. She climbed into bed without another word, curling up on her side. "You hungry?" Ray asked. "No." "You sure?" "Dolores gave us—" "I'm sure." Ray turned off the light. The rain hammered against the window, steady and relentless. He lay back on his bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to Emma's breathing, slow and even out. He'd made a promise to himself a long time ago. No more messes, no more complications, just the road, the bike, and the next town. But promises were like old motorcycles. Eventually, something broke down. Ray woke to silence. The rain had stopped sometime during the night, leaving behind the clean smell of wet earth and asphalt. Grey morning light filtered through the thin curtains. He sat up, joints protesting, and looked over at the other bed, empty. His heart kicked into a higher gear. He was on his feet before his brain fully caught up, scanning the small room. Emma's sneakers were gone. The bathroom door stood open, dark inside. "Damn it," he muttered, grabbing his jacket. He found her outside, sitting on the curb in front of room 7, drawing in the gravel with a stick. The morning air was cold enough to see her breath. "You scared the hell out of me," Ray said. She didn't look up. "I couldn't sleep anymore." "You could have stayed inside where it's warm." "It's not warm, the heater doesn't work." Ray sat down beside her on the curb. She was drawing the same thing, a motorcycle and a stick figure. This time she'd added a sun in the corner, the rays shooting out in uneven lines. "That's a good sun," Ray said. "It's not good. The rays are supposed to be the same." "Says who?" "My teacher, Mrs. Palmer. She says you have to follow the rules or it's wrong." Ray picked up his own stick and drew in the gravel. His sun looked like something a drunk person would draw. The rays went everywhere. "Sometimes wrong looks better," he said. Emma studied his drawing, then went back to hers. They sat there in silence for a while, just 2 people drawing suns that didn't follow anybody's rules. A car pulled into the parking lot, a police cruiser, black and white with Mercer County Sheriff painted on the side. Ray felt his stomach drop. The cruiser parked 3 spaces down and a deputy got out. Young guy, maybe 30, with the clean-cut look of someone who still believed the badge meant something. The deputy nodded at Ray, then went into the motel office. "Is he looking for me?" Emma whispered. "I don't know. You said no police." "I didn't call them, Emma, I promise." The deputy came back out 5 minutes later, carrying a coffee and a donut. He got in his cruiser and drove off without a second glance. Emma let out a breath she'd been holding. "See?" Ray said. "Not everything's about us. Uncle Terry says police are everywhere. He says they watch everybody." Uncle Terry sounds like he's done things that make him nervous around cops. Emma went quiet. Ray regretted saying it. "You didn't badmouth people to kids, even when the people deserved it. His own father had been a mean drunk, but his mother never said a word against him. Some things you left for kids to figure out on their own. "We should eat something," Ray said, standing up. "There's a diner across the street. I have the granola bars." "Granola bars aren't breakfast. You said we don't have much money." Ray looked at her. She was staring at the ground, shoulders hunched like she was trying to make herself smaller. It was the posture of a kid who'd learned to expect disappointment. "We got enough for eggs," Ray said. "But come on." The diner was called Betty's. It had yellow vinyl booths and a jukebox in the corner that probably hadn't worked since Reagan was president. A handful of locals sat scattered around, old men in feed caps, a couple of truckers, a woman reading a newspaper. They took a booth by the window. The waitress was older than Dolores, with hair dyed an improbable shade of red and lipstick to match. "What'll it be, hun?" she asked, looking at Emma. "Scrambled eggs," Emma said quietly. "And toast." "Please." "Good manners, I like that." The waitress turned to Ray. "And you?" "Same, coffee." When the food came, Emma ate slowly this time. She cut her toast into perfect squares, eating one at a time. Ray watched her, trying to piece together the story. A mother who slept too much. An uncle who wasn't really an uncle and had friends in law enforcement. A kid who knew how to disappear. "How long's your mom been sleeping a lot?" Ray asked. Emma chewed her toast, thinking. "Since Uncle Terry moved in? Maybe. 6 months? And before that?" "Before that she was sad. But she'd still take me to school. We'd watch TV together sometimes." "What changed?" "I don't know. Uncle Terry brought her medicine. He said it would help, but it just made her sleep." Ray felt a cold anger settle in his chest. He knew what that probably meant. He'd seen it before, in people he used to ride with. Pills that started as help and ended as chains. "Where's your dad?" he asked. "I don't have one. Mommy says he left before I was born." "Any grandparents? Aunts? Uncles who aren't Uncle Terry?" Emma shook her head. "It's just us. And Uncle Terry now." The waitress came back with the coffee pot. She refilled Ray's cup and set down a chocolate milk for Emma, even though they hadn't ordered it. "On the house," she said with a wink. Emma's face lit up. It was the first real smile Ray had seen from her, and it made her look exactly like what she was. A little kid who should have been worried about homework and cartoons, not whatever mess Ray had pulled her into. After breakfast, they walked back to the motel. The sun had burned through the morning clouds and the air was warming up. Ray's bike sat where he'd left it, patient and waiting. He checked the oil out of habit, even though he'd checked it yesterday. "What are we going to do?" Emma asked. Ray straightened up, wiping his hands on his jeans. It was the question he'd been avoiding since the moment he'd spotted her on that highway shoulder. "I'm going to make some calls," he said. "See if I can find someone who can help." "You said no police." "Not police. Other people." "What people?" "People I used to know. People who might know people." It was a vague answer, but it was all he had. The truth was he didn't know what he was doing. He'd spent 20 years avoiding responsibility, and now he had a 6-year-old looking at him like he had answers. He pulled out his phone. The battery was down to 18%. He scrolled through his contacts. A depressing list of names he barely remembered and numbers that probably didn't work anymore. He stopped on one name, Sarah Hendricks. They'd known each other a long time ago, before the divorce, before the drinking got bad. She'd been a social worker back then, maybe still was. Ray hadn't talked to her in, Christ, had to be 10 years. He hit dial before he could talk himself out of it. The phone rang 4 times. Ray was about to hang up when someone answered. "Hello?" Her voice sounded older, but it was definitely Sarah. "Sarah? It's Ray. Ray Garvin." Silence on the other end, then, "Ray, Jesus, I thought you were dead." "Not yet. What do you want?" Straight to the point. That was Sarah. No small talk, no pretending they were old friends catching up. "I need help," Ray said. "It's complicated. With you, it's always complicated. This time it's different. There's a kid involved." Another silence. Ray could almost hear her thinking, weighing whether to hang up or hear him out. "What kind of kid?" she asked finally. Ray looked at Emma. She was sitting on the curb again, drawing in the gravel. "The kind that needs help," he said, "and I don't know who else to call." Sarah agreed to meet him in Prescott, a 2-hour ride north. She didn't sound happy about it, but she agreed. That was something. Ray and Emma hit the road just after noon. The highway stretched out empty ahead of them, the kind of Arizona 2-lane that felt like it could go on forever. The sun was high and hot, and Ray could feel Emma's small hands gripping his jacket as they leaned into the curves. They stopped once for gas at a station that looked like it had been there since Eisenhower. Emma used the bathroom while Ray filled the tank. An old man sat in a lawn chair outside the station office, a border collie lying at his feet. The dog raised its head when Emma walked past, tail thumping against the concrete. "That's Pepper," the old man said. "She's friendly." Emma knelt down and let the dog sniff her hand. Pepper licked her fingers, and Emma actually laughed, a sound so pure and unexpected that it made Ray's chest ache. "She likes you," the old man said. "I like dogs," Emma said. "We had one once, named Charlie, but Uncle Terry said we couldn't keep him." The old man glanced at Ray, then back at Emma. "That's a shame. Dogs are good for people." "That's what Mommy said. But Uncle Terry doesn't like things that are good." The words came out simple and matter-of-fact, the way kids stated truths they didn't fully understand. The old man's expression changed, something protective and sad at the same time. Ray cleared his throat. "We should get moving." Emma gave Pepper one last pat and climbed back on the bike. They rode in silence for a while, the desert landscape rolling past in shades of brown and gold. Ray thought about what Emma had said. Uncle Terry doesn't like things that are good. It was the kind of sentence that told a whole story. Prescott appeared on the horizon around 3 o'clock, a small city nestled in the mountains, all red rock and ponderosa pine. Sarah had told him to meet her at a coffee shop called the Daily Grind on Montezuma Street. Ray found it without trouble, parking the Harley out front. Sarah was already there, sitting at a corner table with a laptop open in front of her. She looked up when Ray walked in, and for a second, he saw the woman he used to know. Sharp eyes, quick smile, the kind of person who actually gave a damn. Then the years filled back in, grey in her hair now, lines around her eyes. The smile was gone. Emma hung back near the door, uncertain. "That's her?" Sarah asked. Ray nodded. Sarah closed her laptop and gestured to the empty chairs. "Sit down." Ray and Emma sat. A barista called out drink orders in the background. The coffee shop smelled like espresso and cinnamon. Normal things, safe things. "What's your name, sweetheart?" Sarah asked. "Emma." "Emma, that's a pretty name. How old are you?" 6. 6, okay. Sarah pulled out a small notebook and a pen. "Emma, I need to ask you some questions. Is that all right?" Emma looked at Ray. He nodded. "Okay," Emma said quietly. Sarah's questions were gentle but precise. Where did Emma live? What was her mother's name? How long had Uncle Terry been around? Did he ever hurt her? Did her mother know she was gone? Emma answered most of them. Some questions made her go quiet, and Sarah didn't push. Ray could see her making notes, connecting dots, building a picture. After about 20 minutes, Sarah set down her pen. "Emma, would you like some hot chocolate, my treat?" Emma's eyes lit up. "Really? Really? Go pick out a cookie too. Whatever you want." Emma got up and went to the counter. Sarah watched her go, then turned to Ray. "Where did you find her?" "Side of the highway, outside Holbrook, 2 days ago." "And you didn't call the police because—" She was scared. Said this Uncle Terry had connections, cops he knew. Sarah rubbed her temples. "Ray, do you have any idea how much trouble you're in right now? Taking a minor across state lines without parental consent, that's—" "I know what it is." "Do you?" "Because it looks like kidnapping." "I didn't kidnap her. I'm trying to help her. By running, by hiding. By keeping her away from a guy who's clearly bad news." Sarah leaned back in her chair. "You can't just decide you're the hero here, Ray. There are systems, processes, people who actually know how to handle this." "You mean people who'll send her back to him?" "I mean people who'll investigate, who'll make sure she's safe. And how long does that take? Days? Weeks? And where does she go while they investigate?" Sarah didn't answer. Emma came back with a cup of hot chocolate and a cookie the size of her hand. She climbed into her seat, looking between them. "Are you fighting?" Emma asked. "No," Sarah said quickly. "We're just talking." Emma didn't look convinced. She took a small sip of her hot chocolate and stared at the table. Sarah's phone buzzed. She glanced at it, frowned, and stood up. "I need to make a call. Stay here." She walked outside. Ray could see her through the window, pacing as she talked. Emma ate her cookie slowly, methodically, breaking off small pieces. "Is she gonna make me go back?" Emma asked. "I don't know. I don't want to go back. I know. Uncle Terry will be mad. He gets mad when things don't go the way he wants." Ray felt something twist in his gut. "Has he hurt you, Emma?" She shook her head. "Not me, but he hurts Mommy. When he thinks I'm asleep, I hear her crying." Ray closed his eyes. Jesus Christ, this was worse than he thought. Sarah came back inside. Her expression was different now, harder, more determined. "I called a friend at Child Protective Services," she said, sitting down. "She's off the record for now. I told her the situation. She said if what Emma's describing is true, we need to move carefully." "What does that mean?" It means we don't send her back. Not yet. Not until we know it's safe. Ray felt something loosen in his chest. So what do? We get her into a temporary placement, someone I trust, and I start making calls. Find out who Uncle Terry really is, what his connections are, what's going on with Emma's mother. How long will that take? I don't know. A few days maybe. Maybe longer. Emma was watching them both, hot chocolate forgotten. Where will I go? She asked. Sarah's expression softened. There's a woman named Carol. She takes in kids sometimes when they need a safe place. Just for a little while. She's kind. She has a dog. What kind of dog? A golden retriever, named Biscuit. Emma almost smiled. Almost. And what about Ray? Sarah looked at Ray. There was something complicated in her expression. Pity and judgment and old affection all tangled up. Ray has to go, Sarah said gently. He's done what he can, but this is bigger than him now. Emma's face crumpled. No, he can't go. He promised. I didn't promise, Ray said quietly. You said tomorrow's tomorrow. You said we'd figure it out. Together. Ray met her eyes. Those dark, desperate eyes that had been looking at him like he was some kind of answer. And he realized with a sinking certainty that he'd made a promise without saying the words, just by showing up, just by not leaving. Emma, he started, but she was already crying. Not loud, not dramatic, just tears running down her face, silent and heartbreaking. Sarah reached across the table and took Emma's hand. It's going to be okay, she said. I promise you it's going to be okay. But promises were cheap. Ray had learned that a long time ago. And looking at Emma's face, he knew she was learning it now too.